Our green guru, William Kaufman, joins us today to talk about America's energy addiction. Is it out of control? Bill, we're seeing big changes in energy taking place, but America uses a whole lot of energy.
Well, we do. We use a lot of energy, and most of it, or almost half of it, is in buildings.
Wow.
And that's a big consumer. Buildings are a huge consumer of energy. We spend a lot of energy heating, spend a lot of energy cooling, lighting our buildings, and those are the primary consumers of energy that we have. Even worldwide. But in this country alone, we are pretty hoggish when it comes to how we deal with energy.
Why are we so greedy?
Well, I don't know, because
What's fueling it?
I think one of the things is that it's relatively inexpensive. It doesn't hit things that don't hit our wallet directly really hard. People will talk about gasoline prices. As soon as the gasoline prices start to spike, you'll see a spike in sales for high efficiency vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
But in buildings, the energy costs are relatively low here. We don't spend a lot of money. That's not a huge part of our operating expenses. So we don't think of it as critical. But we're generally using coal to fire most of these electricity plants in this country. And what we don't look at is the big picture, what happens. It's a finite resource, although there's a lot of it, maybe 250 years worth of coal to supply energy. What we don't realize is that it's invisibly, it's sort of toxifying the environment, and where it's the 73% of all the carbon that's being emitted into the atmosphere is coming directly from coal plants. So those are the things that behind the light socket, right, the things that people don't generally see that need to be addressed.
So now your company is one of several that are using alternatives. We're talking solar. Are we seeing more of an embrace of that, or is it still too expensive?
Well, I think you see more of it widespread now. It's definitely a technology that has become more prevalent in mainstream. What we do have is some cost barriers to entry, and there are still some government subsidies depending on where you are and installing it on the planet. So what you need to do is find other ways in which we can keep this energy and this technology going, other ways to generate revenue to justify this. So it's not just trying to compare apples to oranges. You're comparing the sun, which is an abundant source of energy that hits the Earth's surface, on a daily basis, versus something we're mining out of the ground and we're extracting. We have to burn. We use lots of oil and other water and other natural resources to make it happen. Then we have to transport that energy. So when you look at it holistically, at all of the different factors, a distributed energy or a localized energy source is really where we're headed. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of time. People are generally resistant to those kind of new technologies.
Sure.
And solar is not a new technology. It's been around since the 1950s. We've been powering things in space, because how else? We don't have extension cords that reach to space.
Right.
So we have to find other ways to do that.
Well, is there perhaps a financial disincentive for corporate America to embrace solar? I mean, if you've got oil companies making gazillions and gas companies making gazillions, why would they convert to solar when they don't make that much money?
Well, I don't think it's a disincentive. What it is there's not a demand, there's not a need, right? So it has to be a created or perceived need. We use this example a lot in our industry. Just a few years ago, nobody needed a smartphone, right? But now everybody needs one. You really can't get through your day without a smartphone. So as this technology continues to prove that it's reliable, as we begin to build storage components in, so that the energy that's being produced during the day can be saved and then released into the atmosphere, into the grid at night, or into the buildings at night, it becomes a little bit more reliable technology. And as the cost of pulling the silicon and the other raw materials out becomes a little bit more economical, then you'll see more of this become mainstream.
Do you get a sense the industry is looking at third world countries in Africa and South America, where we see solar becoming the big push because they don't have that infrastructure like we do here in America?
Absolutely, that is what a lot of people call leapfrogging. So leapfrogging of taking a third world country that didn't have three main ingredients to sort of civilization: no infrastructure for electricity, which kept them from having refrigeration. Once you have refrigeration, now you have the ability to store food and keep food, and then you have communication. So a solar panel, a refrigerator, and a cell phone, and you're online, you're communicating to the world, and you're keeping your produce and your food preserved. So all those things put those third world nations way ahead of a country, even like the United States, where our infrastructure is incredibly antiquated. That's another, sort of behind the scenes thing. As we increase the demand for energy and electricity, the grid doesn't have the infrastructure support that it needs, and it's going to be billions of dollars to maintain that. So alternative energy sources need to be put in place in order to sort of supplement that.
Which raises an interesting question, though. The cost of